In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate the concept of packages and how to use packages in Python. So let's say you have several modules, and each of the modules create various code. We need to package those modules, right? So in other words, we just group them together, we create a package, and then we call those modules within other programs. So packages are simply just a way of structuring Python's modules namespace by using, let's say, the dotted module names. For example, the module name a.b would designate a submodule named b in a package named a. Just like the use of modules saves various programmers and authors of different modules from having to worry about each other's global variable names, the use of dotted module names saves those programmers multi-module packages like NumPy or Python imaging modules and other module names as well. So once again, the basic concept is just that when you got a large number of Python classes or modules, you'll have to organize them into various packages. So here I'm going to demonstrate how to create a Python package, how to save them, and then later on we'll take a look at how to test those packages as well. So basically, we'll be creating various Python programs, we'll be saving them, and then calling them into our final program. So let's go ahead, let's begin. So first we will create a Python package or a file, and we'll call it, let's say, init.py, and we'll use some dotted lines as well to the name of the file. And this is necessary because this file, Python will know that this directory is a Python package directory other than an ordinary directory for a folder like you save in your Windows Explorer. And we can call it anytime we want. So let's go ahead and create, let's say, various packages. Okay, so the first package we're going to create will be the animals package. So we'll just write some code regarding animals, and we'll just place them into a certain package of birds, animals, and so forth, and it'll contain various classes. So I'm going to go ahead and create our first directory, and I'm going to call it animals. So let me go ahead and bring up our Windows Explorer. In fact, let me go ahead and save. So here's the basic folder, the path that you see under data files. I have Python folder, right? And within this folder we have various programs. There's a whole bunch of them you can see. So in fact, we can just take any one of these and group them together and then call them. So to speak, we will be actually creating packages, right? But we'll create some new ones so you can see. So here I'm going to simply create a new folder, and I'm going to call it animals, just so that I can demonstrate the concept of packages. Once I've created the new folder, within this folder I'm going to create various programs, Python programs that contain various classes, right? So within my animals right now is nothing in it, and my first file that I'm going to create or place within this folders is going to call mammals.py, and inside the mammals.py we're going to write some code. Okay, so we'll just make some sample code within the mammals.py. And the important thing to note again is that this particular py file is inside the animals folder. Okay, all right, great, let's save it. So here's our file name, and then now we can begin to write our code that goes within the mammals.py file. So here I'm just gonna write some comment here, for example, and make this bigger so you can see, and just a simple class that we will create. And I'm going to go ahead and say class is mammals. Simple definitions here. I'm going to call it init self. And next I'm going to create some member animals within this definition, right? So just put a comment here quickly. Create some member animals, and just do a self members equals simply create a list. So just list some animals here called tiger, maybe elephant, let's say a wild cat. Alright, just good enough so you get the idea. Next I'm going to do another definition, and I'm going to print members self, and then here I'm going to do the actual printing members of the mammals class. Just want the print, nothing else right now. Alright, so for members in self.members, I like to print out, let's say, new line, let's say T modulo s, and then modulo member. Okay, so just a simple code that we wrote for our mammals.py file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So this code is pretty much self-explanatory. The class has a property named members, which is a list of some mammals, and we might be interested in those, right? It also has a method named print members, which simply prints the list of mammals of this class. And of course, we ought to remember that when we create Python package, all classes must be capable of being imported. Otherwise, they would not be executed directly. Okay, so just a simple class that we created here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create another class named birds, and we'll create a file named birds.py, for instance, inside the animals directory or folder that we had already created, and we'll also write some code for that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. So I'm going to say Control N, and here just put a comment quickly, class for birds, and our class, call it birds colon. Let me go ahead and save it so we can see the color coding. And notice I'm going to save it inside the animals folder. My first mammals.py is already saved, so I'm going to call this one birds.py and save it. Great. So next, just do a definition for my birds, initialize, call it init self, put a colon, and this is basically the constructor for this class, and then we'll create the member animals. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create some member animals and do a self dot members equals, just do a simple list, maybe some birds here called sparrow, robin, and let's see, another one called duck. Let's go ahead and do the other definition for my print members self, and then simply do a print. I'm looking to print here printing members of the birds class, just the word, and then for member in self dot members, simply do a print. Of course, our module goes here. T, fix this up, T modulo S, and then members, or member rather. Alright, let's see what's going on here on line 5, where we have our self.members equals sparrow, robin, doesn't like the duck. So let's see how we can fix this. Okay, let's get this done, and we just need to fix this quick. Perfect. Sometimes just a simple quotation can give you a runaround. Alright, great. So we have created a class for birds, a couple of definitions within our birds.py file. And again, this code is similar to the code that we have in mammals.py. Okay, so here's our mammals.py code, and here's our birds.py code. And next, once we have done this, we simply would need to create the file name init.py inside the animals folder, and we place the code in it. Okay, so basically this file right here, the dot or underscore init name, which is referenced in birds.py and in mammals.py. Okay, so next we'll be creating this file, and once this file is created, we'll simply place some code in this file. In other words, we'll be calling mammals and birds into this file, right? And that's exactly what we have to do to create a Python package. So I'm going to go ahead and click on new one more time, and within this file, let me go ahead and save it first before I actually write the code in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save, and I'm going to call it init.py. And again, this goes directly in the animals folder as well. So once you've given it a name, click save, and here's our file. And in this file, I'm simply going to import the modules, right? So from mammals, import mammals, and from birds, import birds, and save it. And that's really what we have to do to create a Python package. So at this point, we simply created, let me move this here, we created two programs, mammals.py and then birds.py. And then within these programs, we reference or we call the init itself. So this init will contains two statements. So from mammals, import mammals, and from birds, import birds. And from here on out, any code that I write, essentially I've imported both of these modules, birds and mammals, right? So both of these are now part of this program that I'm about to write. So I don't have to rewrite the code for mammals and birds. I already have those lists, for example, created within mammals.py and birds.py. And that's really all to it to create a Python package. So once we have the packages created, we can test it out. So in order to test whether our modules that contains these packages are created or not, we can import these classes from the package itself and then create certain objects of both mammals and birds, for example, so we can test both of them and call a method of it. So to do this, let's go ahead and create a new Python file, and I'm going to click on, or just do Control N, and here's our first comment, so we know. So I'm going to import classes from our new package. Let me save it, and I'm going to save it in our Pythons folder here, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it test9.py. You got to remember this. Click Save, and here's our test9.py file. Next line, I'm going to import. So from animals, that's the folder that we created, import mammals, and the same thing with birds, so import birds. So once we have the classes imported, let's go ahead and put a comment here. So I'm going to create an object, for example, of mammals class and call a method of it, and it'll be myMammal equals mammals, and then myMammal dot print, because I like to be able to see members. This will be equals on top. I'll do the same thing for the birds. So I'm going to do a comment here. So this is going to create an object of birds class and call a method of it. Once that's done, just do simple myBird equals birds, and then I'll do myBird dot print members. Great. So just simple. So it'll give us a list of both the animals such as mammals and birds. So let me go ahead and save it and execute this code, and perfect. On the bottom you'll notice it'll say printing members of the mammals class, and let's take a look at line 12. Of course it's not mtbird, it's mybird. Let's save it again, run it. So it's printing members of the mammals class, which is tiger, elephant, and wildcat, and then printing members of the birds class, which is sparrow, robin, and duck. And where are these coming from? If I navigate back to my mammals.py, for instance, you'll notice there's the names right in the list. So it's tiger, elephant, and wildcat. And then in our birds.py that we created earlier, sparrow, robin, and duck, and you'll see those as an output. And here's our init.py file, and of course our test9 that we just created. So this way you can create packages and modules, and these are important as your code grows larger. You can create various packages and call the classes from them. So I hope this helps practice, and let's move to the next lesson.